So it is the 25th of September and I'm doing a session today with Jenny, and this is one of my long-term distance clients, and she's kindly agreed for me to share today's session. So I'm going to be doing the session for her today, but anybody who does listen to this session over time, if anything resonates with you, you can receive the benefits as well, which is kind of nice. So so I'm just taking myself into a place of stillness where I can facilitate the session for Jenny and anybody else that happens to come across it over time. There'll be no coincidence about when you listen to this in your life, I'm sure. Okay, so I use the tool Mindscape, which I teach, to tune into the person, so I'm getting lots of information, and to me it's just the same as if they're with me and being present. So Jenny's come in today not looking like herself. She's wearing clothes that don't seem to actually fit her, not in size, but fit her personality and things. So Jenny, you've obviously got something coming up today that you want to work on, about almost like I want to say your skin isn't fitting your world, if that makes sense. So let's see what we're working on today. Sometimes when I see things, it's a bit of a visual clue as to what the theme for the session is, but okay, so Jenny, today you've been feeling really stressed and in a bad mood, which is curious given that today was your session that was booked. So interesting that you've been irritated by family stuff going on, irritated by a colleague at work, with a similar kind of theme here. Yeah, so I won't go into all of your stuff unless it's relevant. You've obviously given me permission to do that, so we'll see what today's session is, but you seem to be presenting something around not fitting in. Okay, so we are actually starting with your sacrum, so the bone at the base of the spine. We're on the right side of the sacrum, and we've got some emotional charge stored in there. We're like a big filing cabinet of emotions. We store and squirrel things away for days when we get some downtime to process unexpressed or unexplored kind of emotions. And there is some fear that you've stored away in your right sacrum. So that bone, over time, when we build up more and more emotions, it causes more and more clutter in the area. So that then stops the emotions moving and the energy flowing through that area. And over time, especially, so we don't think of it so much with bones, but if it was a muscle, for instance, there might be more contraction in that area. The muscle could get rigid. There's more stagnation of the energy in that area. So disease or dis-ease can occur. So we want to sometimes call BodyTalk emotionally decluttering the body. So we pull out the emotional clutter that's not serving us anymore, that's causing us an issue. And with BodyTalk, we're looking at the priorities. So here, the first priority that's coming up for Jenny is to pull this fear out of the right area of the sacrum. We also have an active memory coming up, so we're looking at something like an emotional charge from the past that your body's like still reliving. I'm curious if it's to do with the clothing. Yes. At some point in your life, you've dressed up as something that's not really you. This isn't now, this is in the past. We're looking about the age of 17. So at that time in your life, you know, the teenage years, we want to quite often we're quite conscious of how we look, and we're finding our independence and making our way in the world, and we try and fit in with our who we see as our peer group and who we want to hang out with. So there can be a lot of you know, in those teenage years, there can be lots of situations and flavours as to why we might try something on for size, and part of that's growing and developing. It's like we do need to try things on and say, is this me? Does it fit? Does it feel good? Is this how I want to live my life? Maybe not. Okay, let's, you know, go and try this. So it's a healthy situation, but it's almost like you've still got some jacket on, some clothing from the age of 17 that's it's still not serving you, it's still not fitting, it's still not you. Now, I'm not getting any more details. We don't need any more details to kind of take this jacket off, is the way I want to look at it. And so we're going to, you know, we've said enough to kind of bubble this up in your consciousness, into your awareness, so that your body mind can clear this out. When we get these things from the past, it's like, to our body, it's still in the present moment. So at that time, there may have been discourse and, you know, internal angst and anxiety about, you know, maybe not fitting in, or this, you know, having to be something that didn't feel right, or so that's replaying at the moment for you. And, you know, you've been feeling quite stressed today, so maybe this has been bubbling to the surface, ready to be dealt with, ready to be seen and acknowledged. You know, BodyTalk's all about kind of raising things up so that your body is aware of it and it can heal, it can do the healing. So now I'm not getting any more information on this, so we're going to tap all of this out. So and as always, you can tap yourself as we go through this, but we're going to tap on the brain and say, hey brain, this is what we want to look at, and tap on the heart to store the changes, so that when we take this emotional clutter out of you, you know, it's done. The heart can send that message to the body to say, this has been updated. Because every time your heart beats, it's sending out a blueprint to all the cells in the body to remind it, this is you, this is Jenny. And here we're changing Jenny in a way, because we're taking off the, I want to say, the sheep's clothing, you know, the wolf and the sheep clothing. The wolf in the sheep clothing, whichever way around it is. So, you know, we're changing this, so we need to update this. You know, this feels like it's about you getting in touch with who you really are. And the base of the spine is very much about support, stability and foundations in life. So by removing this emotion and removing this clothing that isn't you, it does feel like we're giving you a firmer foundation, more solid foundations, and just allowing you to be more present in yourself, which is kind of delicious and delightful. So we want to store all of that deliciousness when we've tapped it out. So we're going to tap on your head and your heart, so you can do that as well. And anyone else listening, you can just tap gently on the head and on the breastbone to store this in for yourselves as well. So take a nice couple of deep breaths, Jenny. Okay, so that's been tapped out. We're going to move on. We are going into your endocrine, so the glands of the body, and actually we're doing all of them. So we're looking at all of the endocrines. So regulating all the hormones, and, you know, really passing the information around seems relevant with those. So sometimes areas of the body can become out of joint or out of place, and this can be more energetic than physical sometimes, and a lot of the time. But if for instance you had a big trauma or a jolt to your body, sometimes the internal organs can get just kind of shaken out of place, and sometimes things can get in an awkward or uncomfy position. So that's going to put more stress on the body, because if for instance the heart got out of place, it might have to work a little bit harder to function because it's not in its optimal position. So sometimes we have to move things in the body to a more position that's more natural, more aligned. It's just allowing the stress to be taken off that area and just helping it to work more effectively and efficiently. And here we're looking at all of your endocrines, which is kind of unusual. Now in BodyTalk we tend to home in on 7 major ones, but the heart gives out hormones, even there's a gland at the coccyx that does, there's many areas of the body that we don't think of glands as glands. And this we're moving, it's almost like we need to reorientate your endocrines to I want to call it true north. It's like everything's just slightly off, and this could be like by nanometers, but that's going to put stress on your body, and it's coming up as a priority today, that actually if we just realign the glands of the body, it's just going to help that whole system work more effectively and efficiently and communicate better with the whole body, because it's all about helping the communication and getting everything flowing and all the blocks in the body moving. And if there's communication blocks within the endocrines, maybe this isn't so much them talking to each other because we're moving them as a unit, but them talking to other areas of the body, it's going to really put more stress on your system. So we are going to look at realigning them. It's almost like seeing them as like a magnet, and just making sure actually that the compass is pointing true north. So it's like when I don't know if you ever use the compass on an iPhone, sometimes it gets interference and it can't work out where north is. It's just like we need to and you have to move it around just to get it reorientated. This is similar, but we're only moving it a minute fraction just to get that clocked back into place. So I'm going to I'm seeing a visual representation of that, so I'm going to work with that as we tap that in. So again, you can tap on your head and your heart. So we get your endocrines very synchronized into the body. So it's just going to take some stress off all of the glands. Okay. Now I was feeling a wave of energy coming down your pelvic area and down the legs as we tapped that out. So there was like a big release of something falling away, or maybe some energy flow coming back into the lower body. Okay, we've got more to do. So we're looking at the stress response today. It's you've been quite stressed today, so we are going to do the Cortices technique, which is still our number 1 technique out of everything that we do within all the BodyTalk protocol charts, even up to the PaRama level. We still keep coming back to the Cortices, and make sure I give a link to anybody who listens to this, as well as Jenny, with my video of doing the Cortices technique, because this is something you can use daily to take the stress and the anxiety off of the brain and off of the system, which just kind of just resets things a little bit and just allows you to your brain to reevaluate what's going on in the body, which really helps it reprioritize what the healing priorities are. But by taking the stress and the overwhelm off the brain, it just helps it to function, giving you more clarity of the mind, and just helping the body, run effectively as well. We could talk for weeks about what the cortices can do, but maybe now we've realigned all of the endocrines, we just need to realign the brain to make sure all of this comes together. As we tap out all the little elements of the session, but really it's one big formula. So we need to bring in the cortices. It's all about balancing the left and the right hemispheres of the brain, making sure they're working on the right level and working together as a team. There's a lot of stress and that goes on. A lot of glucose gets used, in fact, with a fight between the left and the right hemispheres. I talk a lot about this in Mindscape, as we're looking at optimizing the use of the brain there and the mind. But in our health, the more optimally we can get the left and the right hemispheres working together as a team, the better we're going to function and the easier things are going to get. So we're going to tap out your cortices. So I'm going to work all the way from the back of the head to the front of the head, and we're going to tap it out as we go. And if you know how to do the cortices, you can tap this out on yourself. I know Jenny does, so you can do that, my dear. We're just going to work systematically from the back of the brain all the way to the front, just linking those two sides. Take some nice deep breaths as we go. Okay, so that settled the mind. It was like when we moved everything, I felt that wave of energy moving down through the body and clearing out. It's almost brought more peace to the head now. So now it's just the middle of the torso that I'm feeling stress and tension with. So to release that, because obviously it's showing itself to me, because that's what's going to get worked on, we're going to go to the heart. Heart's really the governor of the body. We're looking at the electromagnetic field coming from the heart. Okay, so there are certain muscles that run kind of down the centre of the body, and down the inside of the legs. This whole kind of central area of the muscles around the abdominal muscles, the psoas, a lot of the kind of central internal muscles. They have a lot to do with the health of the heart. And Heart Math have done a lot of research on the electromagnetic field of the heart, and you can go and look into it more through them. And it's like we've got this torus, so this like vortex of energy that's coming from the heart and surrounding us, and it's like a little bubble that sits around us. So the heart energy, if you meet someone who's enlightened on a heart level, you'll quite often feel it, and it can radiate out quite far. But with us, the heart energy, the electromagnetic field, normally comes out by about 2 meters. But the health of these muscles, so if they're full of, we were talking earlier about emotional clutter, it's actually going to impact how that energy from the heart's going to radiate. So that I guess this could impact the physical health of your heart, but it's going to impact how much the heart can actually give information to the rest of the body. When it's giving out the electromagnetic pulse every time it beats, that message is going through that field, and so that could be affected. So it could affect like your whole health, But I'm often thinking about the wisdom of the heart and how living from the heart is impacted by this as well, and that feeling peaceful, that feeling centered, that being connected with self, being present, and just living from that heart center. All of that is coming into this. So we're looking at these muscles, but we're going to look at certain ones in particular. Okay. So I can see the muscle in my mind, but I can't remember the name of it. So we are looking at the gracilis. I can never say that. Which is, oh, it's ruled by the adrenal glands. There we go. There's the stress response coming in. I knew this was bubbling. So this muscle is on the inside of the leg. So it's kind of, you might want to call it a sex protector area, but it's really a heart protector area. It's a fire muscle, so expansive summer kind of energy should be in there. So it's a place where we normally, from a 5-element perspective, store joy and sadness, but here you've got other emotional clutter in there. There's fear again. So well, we've got fear in the left as the theme, so we're going to pull out fear that's been stored in the left side. And this is actually fear. The left side of the body, it can be the feminine side. So sometimes when we have issues with women in our lives, or the feminine aspects of self, you know, this is why an issue or something may occur on one side. And so that's the theme that's kind of coming up. Oh, my sacrum is burning with this. It's just the fear of feminine on the left side coming up. So, we're still living in a, we get more and more equality, but there's, even the UN were talking about it recently with their new campaign, or whatever you want to call it, that Emma Stone was talking about. Lovely speech, but we have got a lot of issues with the masculine and feminine going on across the board in society, and so for some of us we have issues either way, and for a lot of women we've suppressed the feminine because it's not been seen as the ideal, basically. And I know from talking to Jenny that there's some family dynamics going on within her family about, there's been talk of almost favouring the boys in the family. So for you growing up in that environment, you may have, at a subconscious level, taken on the fact that, being a girl, doesn't serve you. It's not the ideal. So there's a fear of being feminine, and we can having personally worked in the corporate world, it just feel like you have to be a man sometimes to succeed, and it's like, and it doesn't feel congruent, doesn't feel authentic sometimes, having to do things in a more male energy, whereas you want to do it in the feminine, more nurturing dynamic. So sometimes we can suppress that feminine, the femininity, or be fearful of it or scared of it because of events that have happened to us and the programming. And this is, sometimes we're conscious of it, but a lot of the time these are layers in the subconscious mind where it's taken situations in life and made assumptions or belief systems based on it. And one of them for you may be around the theme of being a woman, I don't want to use the word as dangerous, but that would be the extreme level of it. So you've stored away in that left muscle on the inside of the leg the fear of the feminine. So we're going to pull out all of the emotional clutter in that muscle that's around that theme. So this could help you step forward in life, as a more feminine woman, really owning that feminine energy, which is a wonderful quality to really embrace and work with. But this is about helping the heart, which is just this all feels like helping you to deal with stress actually. So maybe there's internal stress coming back to you wearing the wrong clothes, maybe because they were female clothes. That there's a issue. So we want you to be the woman, that lovely feminine dynamic as the women embrace that. And this is kind of how it's showing up in the session, but I think there's a lot more going on around this, so we'll let the session show us and guide us the way it wants to, with how it wants to approach this. But it feels like this is just a metaphor for a bigger thing going on. Okay, so we're going to tap that out. We're going to move all that emotional clutter, all that fear around the feminine. So any times in life where you've experienced something like you've squirreled it away in that muscle, we're going to pull that emotional charge out. We're going to dump it into the digestive tract eventually, so that you can clear it out of the body. And we're going to tap that out. Okay. There's a whole thread of stuff around this, so it's not just what's held in this muscle. We are clearing out a lot of events from your life going back to childhood where it's been seen as maybe women have been disrespected, or men have been favoured, or anything along that theme of, actually, do I want to be a woman? I might be better off as a man. That kind of theme is coming up. So that could be a huge release of embracing you and who you are as a woman. So the unwinding of all of those events is going to run for a couple of days. So you might get some quirky dreams, but it's going to flow out. And anyone listening to this who is a man or a woman, it could be the other way around for you. So your body mind will take this to be the other way, and whichever way it is. Even as a man, you could have fear of the feminine, and or a similar theme. So anytime when anything around the sexes has come up in your life, this formula can run and just take away some of the charge of that. So it'll help you embrace the masculine and the feminine dynamics and qualities of you, because we need to embrace and work with both in life. As a woman, I'm only like, you could think of it as 51% female, so I still need to be able to draw on the masculine as well, but I need to embrace the feminine, and it's honouring both sides of us and both qualities where we can really be our best, or really embrace life. Okay. Okay, I'm getting end of session, so that's as much as your system can take today, Jenny, because as you know, when we do a session, we don't want to overload you as well. So we just do what's seen for you. You've got some work running there for the next few days, clearing out all of the thread around the fear of the feminine. But yeah, it's a fascinating session. You know, you're coming in wearing clothes that aren't you. And, you know, this whole session has felt around, and I'm sure everybody can relate to this. It's sometimes we can just feel frustrated with ourselves in life, frustrated with you know, having to take on roles and do things that don't quite sit with us, or we haven't quite got clarity on why we're doing things or why we're acting in a way. You know, we're never our behaviours. We're just, you know, we're just experiencing life. But we can, you know, the mental chatter of analysing what we've done and how we're feeling, and you know, we can go into these spirals of looking at stuff when, you know, really you've just been you. But here there's a discourse going on between who am I really and how's the world seeing me, maybe. So I think we can all relate to that frustration sometimes about getting clarity on who we really are and coming from the heart, coming from the truth of who you are and showing up as that, and you know, just, you know, in some ways not caring what anyone thinks of you anymore, and just coming from that great dynamic of going, do you know what, this is me, I'm working on my stuff, but I'm perfect as I am, and I'm gonna, you know, if you're gonna do the work and you're gonna keep releasing the emotional clutter and the charge, and this is taking off layers and layers and layers, which just makes it easier to come from the heart, speak the truth, come from the use the intuition as well to guide us on our path. And I don't know, like, I just want to use the word delicious. Life gets more delicious as we, and almost more magical. You know, these are kind of extreme words, but I'm trying to show you, you know, that kind of essence of what can come out as we pull away all the layers to this, and sometimes wearing the wrong clothes, and taking that off and actually wearing clothes that match you and match your personality. And you know, this is a metaphor for bigger things, but it really is, it can be a huge layer that we're dealing with today. So your body mind is going to go away, and all the little links that have come up today, even though they've been separate, it does feel like there's a big theme around this. So you can go away and process this. Your body mind's going to make these connections, and you know, because we're asking your body what it wants, in essence, you know, it's not going to ask for things that are going to cause too much of a healing crisis, because we don't really do that with BodyTalk. So it's going to, you know, it might be very gentle over the next couple of days as this all begins to unwind out of your system. And you know, you could wake up with the world looking different tomorrow, or it may be a very subtle shift, but it's, you know, we've been taking a lot of the clutter off today so that you can really show up as you, which is beautiful. Now in Mindscape, I have no idea why, because this doesn't feel relevant for you, Jenny, but you're wearing a big blue fluffy ball gown, which to me would be something that doesn't sit with you either. But it's almost like maybe you're trying to show us that you want to try on some other clothes, some other possibilities, or maybe you're a really big Strictly fan, because that's back on, I think. Don't know. Maybe you really love dancing, and that's something you want to be passionate about, so you're trying that on for size. Sometimes we need to, you know, like as a teenager, try on, you know, trying to find our identity and try and work out who we are. Maybe there's an element of that for you at the moment as a result of this session. So your follow-up session, it's coming up as 6 weeks, so we'll get that in the diary. And anything that you want to feed back to me on today's session, Jenny, by all means, you know, drop me a line, and any questions you've got, I'm more than happy to answer them. But I'm sure whatever's come up today will resonate with you, and you'll understand it from your perspective. And indeed, anyone that has Jenny's today kind of acted as a surrogate to anybody that was listening to this session. I'm sure all of you can resonate with this somehow. This even if it's the element of, us changing ourselves to fit in with other people, and that dynamic that, brings, fear in life, do I fit in? Am I going to be accepted? And when we do things to people that, might not have wanted to do really, we feel guilty, and all of this emotional charge that builds up. It's like we're letting go of that and just allowing you to be you. And as we let go of all the emotional charge, it's amazing how people just embrace you as you, and there's less drama, there's less charge with other people. It's kind of cool. I'm really excited about what came up in the session. So thanks, Jenny, for being the thank you for showing up today and having this session, because I think this dynamic a lot of people are going to resonate with, and it's going to support and heal a lot of people. Quirky session, but nice. Okay, so there's nothing else coming up that I need to say, so I think we're done. So, any questions, feedback? Sending lots of love to you, Jenny, and to anyone else that listens to this session. And if you want to find out more about BodyTalk or book a distance session with me, like Jenny has today, you're more than welcome to do that. Just drop me a line, and it'd be my pleasure to facilitate everyone else's healing on our journey as we come to drop all the self-worth issues and show up as ourselves. Let's keep it simple. Okay, take care, lots of love, bye.